I'm back. Hello. I am back. I think I'm back. Okay. So, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. It has been a very long minute, hours, one might say, months, weeks, years. It has not been years, but it's been a while. And I'm back. I think I said, I don't know. So, basically, I have been, if you don't know, which you might not, I have been at my placement in school, student interning, student teaching, and it's been a really, really long time since I've posted because I have just been teaching and I've had no time. But a lot has happened. I basically hit 100 subscribers. Hooray! And thanks to my students because they have stalked me and they found my YouTube channel, which is great because I don't do anything bad on here. It's just like books. So, it's whatever. But it's fun. Now I'm famous in a school, kind of. But yeah, if you're watching, hey y'all, miss you all already. I love you all. But yeah, I'm back. I cannot wait to get back into it. I'm gonna start with, that was really loud. Oh, what am I drinking, you might ask? I am drinking a Trenta iced coffee with milk and 5 pumps of vanilla syrup. And it was disgusting. So then I came home and then I put whipped cream in it and now it tastes better. So it looks like cold foam, but I can't afford cold foam. So I just made my own whipped cream. And then I have my water. Okay. Anyways, so I'm gonna start with a wrap up of what I read in April, which is crazy because how is it like April? How is it what? It feels like it doesn't feel like it's May, and it's already May, so that's a little weird. But I actually read a lot of books in April, and I'm shocked that I even got to read this many because I don't know how I had the time. I really don't know. Like, where was the time? I don't know. Didn't have it, but apparently I read 10 books. So I read, what are the categories? 3 literary fiction, 3 romance, 3 thrillers, and a horror, and then 1 woman's fiction, I think. Is that 10? 3, 3, 3, 9 plus 10. Yes, I'm not good at math. Some people, no, I don't know math. But yes, I've read 10 books and I'm very excited. Here they are. Well, I only have 8. And then I read some online. But I read a lot of my anticipated books of the year in April. I feel like April was just like a really fun month where all the books that I wanted to read came out and I read them, which was great. I hit 2 of my most anticipated books in April, and I have thoughts. I have many, many thoughts. But I will start off with whatever's on the shelf here, because it's just closer to me. So, oh, by the way, I do not remember any of the books I read. Like, I don't remember anything. If you ask me about the plot, I'll tell you, but do I know the characters' names? No. So, we're just gonna say man and woman, because I don't know who they are. But this is about a psychiatrist. Oh, the title, you might ask. The Good Lie by A.R. Torre. A.R. Torre is one of those authors that I've been seeing a lot of people talk about, and they're like, she's amazing, her books are great, I love her thrillers. So I picked this one up from a thrift store for like $5 or $6, and I was like, well, if I don't like it, it's fine. It's a thrift store book, and it really hurts that much. But I was like, it's short, it's like 240 pages. I read it really quickly, but it's basically about this psychiatrist who is an expert on killers. Like, those are her clients. Her clients are killers, pretty much. Or they're like people who have like crazy thoughts in their heads and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty much what's happening. And then there's this killer who just got out or something. No, the victim just escaped. And then the son this man whose son was killed by this killer. I don't know, stuff's happening. But anyway, she like teams up with this parent to, I feel like I'm not explaining this very well. They're basically trying to figure out if this man is actually the killer or not. I don't really know. Anyways, I gave this one 3.25 stars. And here's the thing. It was great. I really like the twist. But I feel like when I'm reading a thriller, I'm sorry, but I don't really care about the romance. Because this felt like it was like a romantic suspense book to me. But I don't want a romance in a thriller. And I feel like I think she writes like romance and she's transitioning into thrillers, or I don't know if she, like, romantic suspense is her genre, but I just did not enjoy this as much as I thought I would. The ratings on Goodreads are really, really high. I think it's like 4 point something, which is why I was like, I'm just gonna read it because I'm trying to read more books off my TBR, and I've had this on there for a while, but this was fine. Like, I really liked it. I liked the insight into like the psychological stuff, brain stuff, I don't know. But it just wasn't my favorite. And it's one of those books that I think I'm just gonna get off my shelf. But now I'm happy that I read it because it's just been on there for a while. And now I know I'm not gonna enjoy it. And I don't think I'd like her other books. I think if she's known for writing this like genre, then I don't know. I don't wanna read romance in my thrillers. Like, if I wanted to read a romance, I would pick up a romance, not a thriller. But anyways, not saying it's a bad book. It has a really good twist at the end. I was like, okay, this is nice. But yeah, this was 3.25 stars. It is a very quick read, so you could probably finish this in a day or two. Like, I flew through it. But again, it's only 240 pages, so it's very short. But yeah, if you're looking for a quick read and you like psychologist stories and scary stuff, it's quite dark, I think. Oh, yeah, I think. It's really dark in the fact that it's gruesome and very descriptive. So maybe don't read it if you don't like these things. But yeah, caution, trigger warning. Anyways, moving on to my next thriller that I read. This is called The Perfect Guests by Emma Root, and I've read her first book called The Au Pair. It's about this nanny who goes to live with his family, and it's really fun and gothic. So this is her second book. It came out in 2021, so I've had this on my shelf for also a very long time. And it's basically 2 point of view. So the first one is 1988. This woman who's like, no, she's a girl. This girl who's like an orphan goes to live with this family. And then you're moving into present point of view, where this woman who is like a struggling actress gets this really, really big role at the same house that the other woman lived in 1988 to like play this role of like a murder mystery person. So it's alternating between the two, and you're just figuring out what's going on and how they're correlating and the really mind twisty games they play. It was fun. It was fine. I just was not interested. I feel like her writing is really, really good and it reads really quickly. Again, this one's also kind of short. Like, it's 280 pages. Maybe not short, but it's like a decent amount where like it's not long words. What? But I liked this, but I didn't love it as much as the first one. And I think I just wasn't invested in the plot. I don't know what's going on, but all the thrillers I've been reading lately have just been like misses for me. And I don't know if it's because I'm like maybe not as into thrillers as I used to be, because I used to only read thrillers, but then I got into romance 2 years ago. So now I'm reading more romance and literary fiction and women's fiction. So I don't know, but this was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I like the twists. I like how the two alternating timelines kind of combined, and it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But yeah, this was fine. 3.25 stars. I think I'm also going to unhaul this off my shelf because it just is not like one that I could see myself reading again. It's not like one I love and like would want to keep. But now I know. Again, this is the fun thing about reading books off your TBR, is that you get to know what you really like and what you don't. But yeah, to be fair, I did buy this when I was only reading thrillers. So keep that in mind, because I thought it was going to be amazing. Not that it wasn't. Anyways, we're done with this. Okay, bye. Next book that I read is called The Best Way to Bury Your Husbands by, the fact that I don't know authors' names is so funny, Alexia Casal. And this is about these 4 different women who have very abusive husbands. And it's set during the COVID time, so which was really interesting. And basically, they accidentally killed their husbands. And they're like, maybe I won't tell the police. It's like this really, really fun, dark humor book about domestic abuse and women. And it's just, I love this. This was one of my most anticipated books of 2024. I almost said 2023. Maybe I read 3 of my most anticipated books in 2024 in April. I don't know. But I've been wanting to read this book since like October, since I heard about it. And I just love this cover. It's just so fun. And what a fun title. Books like this, I pick up immediately. But anyways, I really, really liked the commentary on domestic abuse in this book. And it is kind of sad. I did think it was going to be a bit more lighter, but it's definitely more on the heftier side, because you kind of get to hear these women go through these things, and it's really, really, really sad just to read. But it's also one of those books where it's like, it happens and you need to read it. You don't have to read it, but it's like good to be aware of these things. It's really sad because you know that if they went to the cops, it would be like, it wasn't in self-defense because they accidentally killed them in self-defense. So, but then it's like, you know, it's like a whole tricky thing because women apparently never get believed. But yeah, this is fun. I loved it. It was just really, really good. The writing's amazing. I love how these 4 women just like meet throughout this really, really dark time. And it's just, it's outlandish, but it's also like fun. Like you're gonna read this and be like, well, this is not realistic, but obviously it's not, it's fiction. But there's realistic elements to it. Like these stories are true, but obviously you can't, I mean, I don't know if you can or not. I've never gotten rid of someone before, but yeah, this was great. This was 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I'm keeping this on my shelf. And I'm glad I read it because it lived up to the hype. Okay, moving on to lighter books. So these are my 3. Oh wait, I have one more. I guess it doesn't really matter the order I do this in. It does not matter at all. But the other thriller, I guess this would be more horror, horror-y book I read is called The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim, I believe. And I wrote this on my iPad, so I don't actually have a copy of it because I think it comes out in June. But this was probably one of my most anticipated thrillers / horror books of the year. I'm slowly getting into horror, but I don't like specific kinds of horror. But this one felt very like serial killer-y vibe. I don't know. But it was basically about this woman who lives with her mom and her sister, and her mom is going through this really tough divorce or separation with her dad. And then she like meets this guy. The family's Korean, but the guy is white because the mom like read this article and she's like, yeah, white men don't leave you or something like that. I don't know. But then she starts dating this white man. And then in Korean culture, it's good luck to eat the eye of the fish, which I didn't really know. So that was really interesting. And so the mom likes to eat it because, you know, she wants good luck and she's been going through a rough time. So then she meets this guy, blah, 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 it's going really well. But he's also very like gross, just a gross man. And he makes these really gross comments about her and her sister. But pretty much it's about the oldest daughter who is also really awkward around other people and does not really like, she's not very social. And it's pretty much like her backstory to like how she became like this killer kind of person because she becomes obsessed with these blue eyes. Like the guy has blue eyes and she becomes obsessed with them. And it becomes like this whole thing where like she sees blue eyes everywhere and like she starts doing really weird things and it's a little gross. But this was really gruesome, which I expected because the cover is, I mean, you can expect it from the cover. It was good, but I didn't love it. I read it really fast. It reads really quick. The writing is spectacular. I don't think it's a debut novel, but it doesn't read like one. It just reads like someone who's been writing for like years and years. So it's really well written. I was invested, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't know if these thrillers lately have just not been what I'm into because I'm not really a mood reader. I'll just read whatever. But I was predicting this to be a 5-star book and it started off really good, but it also didn't. I love the ending, but I think maybe the pacing had a part to do in it as well. It was a little slow in the terms that the story was going, and I thought it would have like more action and stuff like that. That being said, it was still really, really engaging, and I loved reading the backstory behind this woman and like how she basically goes insane and like her whole decline. Like that was really fun. And yeah, I gave this 3.75, so not quite 4 stars, just missing something. But I really enjoyed it, and I think if you like horror, if you like feminist horror, I want to say, or like just women going insane, this is definitely fun to read. Okay, I need water. Okay, moving on to now some lighter reads. Betting on You by Lynn Painter. Lynn Painter is probably one of my favorite romance authors. Well, she writes YA and she writes adult fiction. I don't like her adult romances because they're steamy, but her YA romances, like, this is what she needs to keep doing for a living. Because the way she writes teenagers, it's not like, it doesn't feel like an adult is writing them. Like, she's a whole mom, but then they're not cringy and they're not weird. They read really well and they're really relatable and they're going through struggles and it's fun. But this is about this young girl who's going through divorce, and she's basically now a child of divorced parents, so she's going back and forth, fly to mom, fly to dad, and then she meets this guy on the plane who like really, really annoys her. Like, she just does not like him. And then it's like, fast forward to a couple years later, and she sees him again. And then they work at the same place, and then her friend is also working with her at the same place, and she meets a friend she had known a while ago, and then the main girl and the main guy make this bet where he's like, guys and girls can't be friends, and then she's like, yes, they can. So they start this bet whether her friend is gonna hook up with the guy or not, or like if they're gonna get together, even though that friend has a boyfriend, if that makes sense. So she and him start hanging out and like just getting to know each other, and it's just so good. I read this book and I could not stop thinking about these characters for like a whole week. They were just in my brain, and I just love them so much. I forgot their names. Bailey and Charlie. It's just the perfect enemies to lovers, and then friends to lovers. You have a lot happening here, and it's just so well written. Like, it doesn't feel like it's YA, but it is, because they're teenagers and they're going through a lot of stuff, and I just loved it. Like, they're always just like exactly what I need, and she just knows how to write. She just knows how to write these characters, and I love the cover. I love the spine. If you put all the books together, they're like, I have them, I'm just not getting up. One thing I didn't like about this book was how much the character swears. It's like, I understand that teenagers swear, and maybe that's what she was trying to do, but it was like, he would say something and then he'd swear again, and it was like on the page, there'd be like 8 swear words, and I'm like, okay, teenagers don't swear that much. It's not like every other word. So that kind of annoyed me, because I'm like, oh, okay, one's fine. I'm like, oh, okay, another. I'm like, oh, okay, 4 more on one page. That seems excessive. But that was one of the things that bugged me. I'm like, I get what you're trying to do, but I feel like teenagers don't swear that much. I don't know. I could be wrong. But that was it. I don't think anything else about it bugged me. This was 4.25 stars. I just love it. Her romances always are just what I need, and they're just really quick. I think I binged this in like a day. I love her. I'm waiting for her next book very, very impatiently. Okay, moving on to book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Book 6 out of 10. We're almost there, guys. Just bear with me. Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. Abby Jimenez, if you haven't read her books, just go right now. Don't even talk to me. No, I'm kidding. But she's probably one of the best romance authors that I know, or I have personally read, because she writes banter and romance and chemistry and crime stuff, just all really, really, really well. She blends it all into one book. And her last book for me was 5 stars. It was probably one of the only 5-star books I read in 2023. And I think I read like 90 books, and I gave like 3 or 4 5 stars, and that was one of her books. It's called Yours Truly. Read it, and read the one before it. So I would say that, because this is a standalone, but it's like part of like a series, like an interconnected standalone, if that makes sense. So there's Part of Your World, and then there's Yours Truly, and then there's Just for the Summer. I would highly, highly recommend you read those 2 before you read this one, because there's like a little Easter egg in this one from the past 2 books, and it just won't hit the same if you don't read the 2. Like, definitely read this, but read the last 2 before it, so you can like get the full experience reading that, if that makes sense. But this one is about these 2 people. I'm gonna look at names. Emma and Justin. So Emma is on her phone, and then she sees this Reddit thread about this guy named Justin who has this like love curse. Like, every time he dates someone and they break up, that someone finds their true soulmate and they get married. And then Emma's like, wait, that's like me too. So they like message, blah, blah, blah. And then she's a traveling nurse. And then he lives in, I think, Minnesota. I don't really know. Like, I should know things. Doesn't matter where he lives. He lives somewhere, and then she gets a job there. And then basically they're like, what if we date each other to cancel each other out, to cancel the curse out? And then we each find our own soulmate, right? It sounds fun. And they're like, 3 dates, 1 summer, perfect. So she goes with her best friend, and they start working there, and then they start to go on these dates. And guys, like, this book, it's so cute. I can't. I just love this. I'm in love with this book, because first of all, this cover, we just, like, perfect summer cover. And she just knows how to write. Like, she is just amazing. And everything about this book was so good. I will say, one thing I did not like is it's obviously fiction, and I just feel like the way they met is so like is it insta-lovey? Is that the term? But then it's like everything else in this book was perfect. Like, if you take that out, that's fine. But everything else in this book was perfect because the way they are with each other is just amazing. Their chemistry is amazing. The banter. She is probably like one of the authors that writes the best banter I've read, aside from Emily Henry, which we'll talk about in a second because, yeah. And I don't know. I don't know how she does it, but she does it every time. And I laughed, I cried, I just never wanted this book to end. And it's like 400 pages, but it reads really, really quick. Like you can easily read like 20 pages in like 5 minutes because there's never that much writing on each page. And she writes a lot of banter, so it's really quick to read. But this was 4.5 for me. Probably one of my top books of 2024, hands down. I just know it. I just love this, and it was great. It was amazing. It was literally perfection, aside from that small thing. But I just get picky, and I'm so picky that, I don't know, I'm just getting pickier. But yeah, this was amazing. Highly, highly recommend. This is the next book, Emily Henry's Funny Story. And this is probably like on every reader's list. I feel like Emily Henry is that author that people that don't even like romance read her books because her books are never romance. They're always like women's fiction with romance. That's what I like to call it because it never reads like a full romance story because you're meeting these characters and then you're learning about their lives. Same with Abby Jimenez. Like I would say she's definitely a romance author, but you also like you're getting women's fiction, you're getting a bit of everything else in here. Like the backstory of these two characters are amazing. And then this, like Emily Henry's in that same boat where it's like, it's romance, but it's also literary fiction at the same time. But this probably has like one of the most fun plots I've read. Can we just take a minute? Because look at that. And this dust jacket, it's just the prettiest pink. But anyways, how do I even explain this? Because every time I try to explain this plot, it's like really like not, I don't really do a good job at it. But it's basically about these two people named Daphne and Miles. And Daphne had a fiance, Miles had a girlfriend, and then their partners leave them for each other. So Daphne's partner leaves her for Miles's girlfriend because they were childhood best friends, if that makes sense. And then Daphne's like, well, I'm homeless and I have nowhere to live, so I'm just gonna live with Miles. He comes to her door one day and he's like, where is he? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, do you have a room? And he's like, I do. So they're roommates, yeah. But at first, I was like, why do I care about this man? I do not, because he's like not the male love interest that I thought he was gonna be. But then they're so good. They're so good together. And I'm just never disappointed in an Emily Henry book. I just feel like she never misses. She just knows how to get it every time, and her banter is amazing, and it's just so funny, and it's so good. And she's a school librarian. She works with kids, and he's like, he works places. But no, I love this. Now, it was not a 5-star for me. My favorite Emily Henry book is Book Lovers, and I hate comparing books that I've read by the same authors to others because Book Lovers for me is like that high standard of small-time romance, enemies to lovers, sisterhood theme. Like it has every single perfect element into it. And this one I loved. I loved. But Book Lovers for me is like top tier, perfect romance, banter, chemistry, everything. And this one was great. I really liked the way that this one dealt with the third act breakup because there is like some sort of conflict that happens, but then you're like, oh, what? Like why? And then it's like, wait, no, I get it. And she resolves it really, really well. But yeah, I have never had anything to say about Emily Henry that is bad. I just highly recommend any of her books. Like they're always a perfect beach read. And then, yeah. Oh, sorry. This is a fake dating trope. I just got really excited. Basically, they're pretending to date so they can make the other people jealous. But then that's how it starts. And then like, obviously, somehow it ends. But yeah, there is one steamy scene. Oh, I dropped it. One steamy scene in this book. I think it's like 2 to 3 pages. So it's not very present. Like it's not very apparent. But yeah, aside from that, it's pretty tame. There's some chemistry, but like it never gets anywhere. But yeah, I loved it. It was great. This one also had one steamy scene, I think. Yeah, that's it. But like if I were to do like that spice level thing, it would be like 1 or 2, like not even. but there's some chemistry and there's tension, which is great. But yeah, 4.25, 4.5. Okay, moving on. This is literary fiction, Meredith Alone. I love this cover, and I've been wanting to read this book for a while. I got it at a thrift store for $10, and it's about this woman that hasn't left her house in 1,200 days. She's gone through something really traumatic, and she just hasn't been able to leave her house. And the whole story just kind of follows this woman and what she goes through and like what's happening, and it's really, really sad, and it's just like heartbreaking, but it's so good. I really, really enjoyed this. Only thing about it for me was it felt quite long. Like, it's only 340 pages, but I feel like it could have been condensed, like at least like 250 could have been the max. Like, we're just following along with this woman, and it's really nice to read, and it's really great, and it's really heartwarming. But then there was a certain point where I'm like, well, where is this going? Because I'm just kind of getting bored a little. But that's not to say that this author is not a great writer. She's amazing. I just feel like we didn't need everything in this book that it gave us, but it was a really good story about forgiveness, about just healing, about meeting people that you didn't expect to meet. And I really liked it. I think I gave it 3.25, 3.5. I was kind of disappointed because a lot of people loved this one, and I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it as much as I thought I would, which I've been noticing about a lot of the books that I've been reading. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I'm sadly gonna have to say goodbye to this book, and I don't want to because it's beautifully stunning. And just like, look, there's a cat on the spine. I don't want to. Anyways, I do need to just be better at, okay, why is this hard? But yeah, this is great. I loved it. Okay, second last book I read was called Jaded, and this probably has one of my favorite covers I've seen. Like, look at this. Like, look at this. I love it. So a friend lent this to me. I didn't buy it. I told her about it, and then she bought it. And I was like, well, I'm gonna take that from you. But this is about this woman named Jade, and I think she's half Korean, half Turkish, and she works at a law firm in London or in the UK. I don't really know. I always think when books are set in the UK, I'm always just like, oh, it's in London, but it's not. Like, it's not always in London. There's other places in the UK than London. But pretty much, oh, it's a little bitter. But pretty much she works at this law firm, and then there's this party event going with like all the big people. And then she goes, and then the next day she wakes up at her home, and she feels violated, but she doesn't really know what happened because she can't really remember anything. All she remembers is going home with this guy and him taking her home, but she doesn't remember anything after that. She pretty much blacks out because she's intoxicated. And then what follows, I think it's a month or like whatever time after, she basically like withdraws and like tries to figure out what really happened. And she comes to terms with the fact that she has been sexually assaulted. So the entire book is pretty much the aftermath of that, of her coming to terms with that, her having to deal with it, her having to tell her boyfriend, her parents. And it just talks a lot about misogyny, a lot about abuse, a lot about predominantly white workplaces, which we know that law firms are. Like, I feel like every time I read a book about law firms, they're always like, there's white males, and then there's like always the one woman or couple woman, and just the way they treat her, how her boyfriend kind of says small things to her that she never really thought were a big thing, but are actually very racist. And yeah, this was very eye-opening. It was very heartbreaking. It's definitely not light at all because, well, actually there's some dark humor elements to it, and I think the author does that really well. I just feel like it's more on the heavier side of what really happens, and it's a very raw and visceral depiction of that. And it just makes me so mad. Like, this book made me mad. But it's like, I'm mad, but it sucks because it's like real. Like, this is actually what happens after. And it's just very, very, very well written. It's also a debut novel, which I was shocked because her writing is beautiful. And there's just some one-liners in here that were stunning. I don't remember them, but I remember sitting there reading them and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is beautiful. But yeah, I give this one 4 stars. Definitely like a highlight of one of the books I've read. throughout my years so far. Like, definitely one I will not forget. I do recommend it, but again, there's those trigger warnings in there, so definitely be cautious before going in. And yeah, this was amazing. I'm really, really happy I read it. Definitely lived up to the hype. Okay, the last book that I read, this is a 30-minute video. That is a long time. I feel like I just keep talking about these books and never ends. Anyways, this one's called Nosy Neighbors, and it's pretty much about this woman who moves into this new apartment complex building, and how do I even describe this plot? But her, like, not landlord, her, like, person who she's living with, she gets home one day and, like, he's on the floor. Someone tried to, like, murder him, I think, or attack his house, I don't know. And then there's this really grumpy old woman, and you already know what it is. Like, you already know it's, like, grumpy old woman, young girl. It's, like, Only Murders in the Building, kind of like that vibe, but it's, like, less murdery. But there's a mystery going on. So pretty much this grandma lady and this young girl are trying to figure out what's going on, but they're like clashing because this grumpy woman doesn't like anyone. And then they're like closing down the apartment complex, and then it's just really, really fun. I give this one 4 stars. It's just a heartwarming mystery. It's like, it's really fun and it's great and I love it. I would say it's like cozy fiction / mystery. I wouldn't really say it's a mystery, but it's more like cozy fiction. Like heartwarming, cozy mystery. Yeah, that's the genre, but it's less on the mystery and like more on the fiction, but there still is a mystery element in it. And there's also a really good romance. It's very, very minimal, but I was like, this could be it, and it was, and I loved it. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. It was just fun to read, like a really nice break when you're reading a lot of dark books, and it's just like the perfect book. I didn't think I'd love it, but I really just was invested, and just the writing style is amazing. The characters are so funny. The grandma's my favorite. I love her. She's like grumpy, but then when she's like starting to warm up, you could tell that she's like slowly thawing. She's not a witch, but yeah. Anyways, those are the 10 books I read in April. If I were to recommend, like if I were to say which ones you need to read, you must. You just have to. But again, read the first 2 before. You have to. You must. This one, yeah. If you want sadder ones, yeah. It's like half my TBR. But yeah, here we are. May is gonna be fun. I'm hoping to read a lot in May. But yeah, these are some of the books. Oh, I don't have the rest, but yeah, here we are. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all my new subscribers. I love all my students. I miss you all, and I probably will see you around town because it's tiny here. And yeah, I will be posting my next video soon because I have to do a May TBR, what I'm going to read in May. So that's going to be next. I will probably film it right now, right after this. But yeah. Anyways, I love you all. Let me know what books you read in April, if you read any, which were really, really good. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye.